Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Be the Wolf. I've got a great treat for you today. But if you have been a person who has been shower, I know for me, it's like I had so much in my life where I felt powerless, helpless, and I was like, I just need to regain my power. I need to access that power within me so that I can create this life that I want. If you've ever felt like that, you're going to want to listen to this episode. If you've ever lost everything, or maybe you're like hanging on, fearing that you're going to lose everything, you're going to want to listen to this episode. And there's the other piece too. Sometimes we know all the things, right? The information is out there. You can Google anything. You can watch YouTube and figure out how to do everything. Like the information is there at your fingertips, but how do you actually do it and embody it? Well, if that's where you're struggling, also, you're going to want to listen to this episode.
Love it.
Okay, so Kirsten is a retired attorney turned founder, investor, and an elite performance coach who has helped thousands of high achievers become unfuckwithable in business and life. Before we jump into your story, I know everyone's like, tell me more about unfuckable with.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's just a word that represents absolute and total peace, actually. Right. I think we come into this world and all the things come at us, and all those things sort of layer upon layer cause us to not be okay with ourselves, to mask who we are, to try to be something different than just ourselves, right? Because nothing's good enough. Like you're in kindergarten, you didn't paint the painting right, or it could be different, or somebody makes a comment and it makes you internalize and just not be okay with whoever it is that you are. So for me, unfuckwithability or uneffability is just being so at peace with yourself and so unbothered by anybody else's opinions that you can walk through life with a capital T truth of who you really are and what you're here to express. That's really it.
So in line with the whole Be the Wolf message.
I know. I'm so excited to be here.
Like your mission in life is, tell us your mission in life.
Yeah, so it sounds a little bit quirky. I know my marketing does not say this, but this is actually my God-given mission in life, and that's to raise the vibration of humans on the planet. And what that means to me is there isn't a time, and you could probably attest to this, that you're not going to be in my field having a conversation with me and feel Debbie Downer. Like you are going to elevate even by just being in my presence, because that's how I vibrate. So law of resonance, all of that stuff comes into play, but that's my mission, is to help you guys raise your vibration.
And what I love about your mission and why I wanted to bring it up is because, like, my mission, my purpose is the evolution of humanity. And one of my core beliefs is that when we operate from the truth, from our true essence of who we are, that humanity evolves. And so, of course, when we met, we were totally linked up and connected because we have so much in common in that way. The stuff that really matters is totally in alignment. And when we talk about creating a life that feels really good and feels right for you, and you're making the money and you're feeling the joy, you feel the freedom, all of those things, alignment is a big key. So let's dive into your story. Like, alignment wasn't always where you were.
Yeah.
Let's start back from the place of non-alignment and then
I mean, let's take it there. I think the moment I landed on this planet, yeah, everything that could hit you hit you. I'm adopted by white people in the 1970s in a homogenous neighborhood. Everybody's racist. I also have neurodiversity, so the interpretation of that data wasn't just whatever it was even more negatively impactful, right? It was very painful to be living on this planet. And it's just so interesting because I think that developed in me two things just like growing up. So my parents got divorced and I kind of straddled these two different worlds, right? A world where money is easy and nothing, and then a world where everything is struggle. So between that sort of interpretation of the data and feeling like everything's negative and I am not welcome here, and add to that seeing a financial struggle, I really kind of started out my path, one, wanting to make fuck you life changing money, right? That could help myself and everybody in my field and others. But also kind of wanting to, again, with that sort of, I don't want to use the word charitable purpose, but this purpose of helping others. And at that time, I'm not going to say I didn't make the right choice because it's definitely all part of the path, but I ultimately went from wanting to be on Wall Street to wanting to be a lawyer. And behind that was this idea that I really, really love. I love it to this day. It just doesn't play out to fruition that way. Is that every word you speak in court, every word you write on paper actually shapes the way we operate in this world, criminally and civilly. All the decisions, all of the past decisions, whether that's a label on a product to warn you that it's unhealthy or unsafe, or whether that's how you operate your vehicle within the confines of the rules of law, right? That's all what we spoke and wrote about until it became law, right? And so it was very interesting. But what happened is I became that lawyer. And yeah, I entered a place of hostility, which is so not my vibe, never has been. And just backstabbing, underhanded, babyish actions. And I lasted just about 7 years in that environment before I couldn't take it. And I was like, peace out. I'm
Yeah,
done.
tell us some more about, like, what it was like, right? Because part of it is, like, you wanted to make a lot of money, right? And they're traditionally the fields, like, growing up. Now people are like, "Oh, entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship." But in our day and age growing up, it's like, you're gonna be
Lawyer,
a
doctor.
doctor, and you're gonna be rich,
If you were
and
middle class, it's lawyer or doctor, right?
right. And so, you got into this field expecting, what did you really expect? Like,
Oh my
what was
God.
the hope that you were gonna get out of going that? Because I think, again, like, I went to school to become a chemical engineer, and that was definitely not my path, but I went in, to make my grandpa proud, my grandparents proud, and to make a lot of money, but there was
Right.
nothing in there for me.
Right, right. So for me, it was really kind of just living that Ally McBeal life. I thought I was going to come into this office where people were friends and like had something going on. No, instead, you come into an office where someone is so jealous of you, doesn't even work in the same office, and purposely undermined your career, which I thought was just TV junk. I thought all the little shows of corporate America, I thought that was all just bullshit and people, it was just for, television. No, it actually happened to me. And secretaries admitted to me later that this individual intentionally did things and told them not to send me records for something I needed. So, and we're all in the same firm, like we're all in the same family, we're all fighting the same fight for our clients, and yet you would do that, right? So that's what I had to wake up to every morning. And then I also woke up to, you know, back then, I think my truth and justice was very black and white, and it was either good or it was bad. So having what I would define as like an alcoholic law partner that I couldn't respect, and then also them doing billing practices that were in clear violation of the billing rules. And, I guess maybe they're thinking it's not that big of a deal. To me, it's a big deal if you're telling, on paper that I picked up a phone call and I wasn't even in the state at the time. That's a problem for me.
Yeah.
So, if my own backyard is doing this, the entire profession can't be any better because these were the stand-ups. These were the presidents of the bar association. And I'm like, holy shit, and it was just very interesting to learn, the earthly little truth about what's really going on. And that's not for everyone,
Yeah.
it's not, but it just happened to be the environment that I dropped into. And there's good reason for it because I wasn't meant to stay. If it was happy go lucky, I'd probably still be a lawyer right now. Right. And not the path that was laid out for me. And I do know that now. Right.
Yeah, and in that environment, right? Because I know a lot of people are in environments where it's just, like, fucking feels like someone's out to get you. And it doesn't always like, even you leave one environment and you go to the next, and sometimes it's like, "Why does this keep following me? Why does this keep following
Oh,
me?"
that's a vibe. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for you, what did it feel like when this person was out to undermine you? Like, what did it actually, like, feel like every day going into that office?
So what's funny is we weren't even in the same physical office. So this person's attacking me from a remote office, which is very interesting. Feel it. I love this question because this is a question that I think a lot of people need to ask themselves because intellectually you process this, but actually energetically, emotionally, most people don't. So I really,
Exactly.
really love this question because you're bringing me back to a day. Um, I think it was, I'll use it unbelievable and inconceivable because I don't come from that place. So when other people are telling me, even their secretaries, that this is happening, I was absolutely in denial because I had to push away the truth of what could be going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolute denial, right? And so I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And then I would make it so maybe the secretary doesn't like her and was trying to get rid of her, and that's why she's telling me something like that. No, because you actually didn't have the records that you needed to show up in court. So she was telling you that it's not her. There wasn't a
Yeah.
mistake being made, that a law partner is telling her not to send this to you. And you're just like, oh, why? Like,
Yeah.
why? Like,
So
um, yeah.
that confusion and, like, trying to and I bring this up because this is such a normal thing that people do. "Oh, it just must be a mistake." And
Right, right.
and then
It
when
didn't
you
really
like
happen that way. Yeah.
and when it's really there in front of your face in black and white, crystal clear, is just like the brain still wants to deny it and say, "No, this isn't happening," for a lot of people, and so coming to that place of acceptance that this person was actually out to undermine you, like, what was that like when you finally started to, like, accept it?
Yeah, so it didn't happen until after I left and started making shit tons of money, to be fair. Um, I left and I started my own company. It was a real estate title company. You know, I thought I was super great at, being a founder and CEO because I quickly moved into 3 states and had a lot going on, but I wasn't. I learned that later. But that level of acknowledgement, I think allowed it to come through me and out of me, if that makes sense. And it allowed me to understand actually what you just said, a little bit more of the, neuropsych process of the power of denial, the power of the way that the brain edits things so that I could go look back and really genuinely take a look at it. What was the thing that caused me to elicit in her a threat? Right. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. There's no judgment in this process, but hey, I wonder what the vibration in me was that
Right.
triggered this vibration in her that was like threat, get rid of it. Right. And that's not my problem. Her side is not my problem. I was just curious because I do have a belief that you're not going to notice it unless it's in you. Right. So, how do I put that? You will not see the negative unless you're vibrating somewhere in alignment with that negative. You won't notice it if that makes any sense. All the things could happen. It's like the kids at Christmas, right? One kid gets a little play sports car and his little friend gets a box, a cardboard box. And the little kid with the cardboard box is loving it, opening the box, closing the box, so happy. And the kid with the car is like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right.
Well, the kid with the box isn't vibrating at I want stuff, I need something outside of me. The kid's just like, this is the best fucking box ever. I can't believe I got a box on Christmas. This is the best box. I'm gonna play with this box. Right? That's the vibration. So they're not at the level of vibrating to notice like, ooh, what I don't have or what I need or what I would like. And so, I think it was helpful for me to understand, to be able to understand that process so that I could literally go through life doing that from that point further. If I do notice something, hey, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What's that
The
one?
way
You know?
the way I look at it, and I think we're talking about the same thing, is that the person who's coming after you has some frequency that's
Mhm.
not great. And they're not going to be attracted to coming after you unless you have some of that frequency too.
That's it. Yep.
And so the work in not continuously attracting the same thing is to identify and deal with the frequency within you that's, negative and at that lower frequency to process and transform it into a higher frequency so that you no longer attract that
Well,
thing.
and for me, that frequency was everything I grew up with, like coming into an environment where I wasn't accepted and not wanted,
Yeah.
right? Listen to me. Now I step into my adult life to an environment where I'm not wanted, a version of it, right? And so that was actually the throughput that I uncovered and discovered, in my 20s, like, oh shit, like, after I was like good, I'm like, oh, yo, I totally made that happen. But I made it happen for good reason because I cannot hold the gifts that are coming to me if I still resonate at not wanted.
Yes.
So, I don't know if you and I had discussed it, but I studied religion, spirituality around the world from different sects of Buddhism to Kabbalah. And one of the things I love about the Kabbalists is that they talk about the vessel, you being the vessel, right? And all the gifts are around you, and the creator, God, whatever you want to call it, they call it the creator, wants to throw and bestow all the gifts on you, but it can't. It can't because your vessel can't hold it. It might be leaky and it might be, so sometimes it breaks your vessel so you can rebuild it so you can hold all the gifts. And that's the way that it breaks your vessel, right? So that was just one version of a leaky little vessel that I had, was the idea of not being wanted, not being accepted, and not mattering to my ego. I
Yeah.
had needed to get rid of that. I need to get rid of that because you can't go out and run the world in your version of it if your ego is going to be hit every time somebody makes a shit comment about you
Yeah.
or does a thing, right? And that's not an easy place to get to. And I think we'll talk about that. That's like the embodiment of, and that's exactly what I mean by becoming unfuckwithable, is because once you get to that place, you can literally do and have everything. And I wake up like a kid on Christmas morning every morning. The vibration is just so in my body. Does it last all day long? No. But as long as I keep it in the morning and come back to it in the afternoon and go to bed with it, I'm golden. And everything comes therefore with ease. That does not mean life doesn't get disrupted, things don't annoy you, things don't happen. But when they do annoy you, you have this process of looking at it being like, oh, what's that about? Even today, right? My daughter's here. She's a teenager. She's on spring break. We're supposed to be going to all these college tours. She's behind. She's sleeping till 2. I just kicked her out of this room so she could go upstairs and sleep more because that's really awesome. And I had to stop myself like, wait, what is the fear, the weakness within me that causes me to criticize her actions? And let's not play the intellectual game, like, because that's not the system that's going to work. You have to wake up, you have to do and be. No, screw you, Kirsten. That's not real. The fear is everything I suck at, everything I'm not able to accomplish is now being reflected in that behavior.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, wait a second. And then what's the fear? The fear is, oh my God, you're going to end up not me. You're going to end up not better than me. You're not going to get what you want because you didn't act. Not my path, bro. Not my path. Like, you go be you. You'll figure it out. I am your parent. I am here to guide you. I'm here to let you see all there is that we can offer to assist you, but I can't make you drink the water. I can't make you embody the spirit, the state of being for your version of success.
Yeah.
And listen, if it takes you 30 years, it takes you 30 years like it did me. Like, what, it's going to be whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. And I think one of the things right there, really important leading into another aspect of your story, and I'm not sure if this is the right lead in, but I got the hint. So let's go with it.
Whatever.
Uh, but here's this person who's like not motivated, not getting up, like not jumping, like to be a go getter and do all of that. So in theory, like the mind, the parents, like, oh my God, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to like get where you want in life. And as you said, you're not going to get what you want in life. And so in the part of your journey where you ended up without a home,
Yeah.
is that aspect of you a part that played a role in it?
Oh,
Like,
100%,
profession.
100%. So, yeah, like 100%. Everything is always interconnected, and whether or not you see it or not doesn't really matter as long as you kind of know it and can kind of like understand that it'll all work out. But yeah, I mean, look, really the getting completely crushed, having my license suspended, so my identity of a lawyer is gone for temporarily. I didn't want to be a lawyer at that time, but just the
Yeah.
fact that it was gone meant something. Being a single parent with my then infant child and being homeless, you don't think, oh, you're a lawyer, you're this, you have multiple degrees. Like, was that like you're gonna be homeless like one day, right? You don't think the world's gonna be crashing down. And yes, the planet was also crashing, right? It was 2009, the second largest stock market drop happened. People were out of jobs, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not even looking at it from that perspective. I'm looking at it from the perspective of you had to shatter my egoic leaky vessel because it didn't repair when that woman was coming after me and causing me to think these things, right? It didn't do that. And so I do believe that the universe taps you on the shoulder multiple times to be like, "Hey, maybe you should look into that and maybe repair that, maybe
Yeah.
fix that part of your vessel." And when you don't, it has to give you the kick to the nuts to like get the job done because it really wants the best for you. And if for some reason you're not taking the easy hit in learning, you're going to take the hard one. And I think that's actually just the way our brains work in human nature because if you look across the board of some of the best, most successful people. And I'm not just talking like, ooh, Elon Musk who built a bunch of companies. I'm talking about successful professors, successful whatever, right? They all have their own sort of downfall version of a story where they had to learn something in order to get where they were getting.
Like the
Whether
Dark
it's
Night of the Soul or the
yeah,
Belly of the Whale and the Joseph Campbell.
yeah,
Like, so
right.
talk to me, like you said something about you didn't really fully learn it when the woman was coming after you. So what were the things, what were the beliefs, what was the stuff that was repeated from childhood that carried you into losing everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think pure ego and the idea that I was in control because I was a control freak, right? This need to because I'm the last generation. I'm in my 50s, and so we're latchkey kids. We grew up in a time where they literally had to have a PSA commercial to ask your parents at 10 o'clock, "Do you know where your children are?" That's
Yeah.
how we grew up.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to understand, there's no control anywhere from anyone, and so unless you were born with this amazing self control, you just didn't have it. And so I think that place of ego, that place of need to somehow feel as if I control the outcomes was part of that. And when you take all that control away from someone, and as much as they try, they still lose it all. That's a big lesson, right? That's a
Yeah.
big lesson. I was fortunate enough because since high school, I was studying personal development, which was so not like a 1980s kind of thing, 1990s kind of thing. Um, I loved it. I loved the psychology of it. I loved the fact that there were then theories that you could change something, right? Again, it's that control freak in me that caused the study of, right? Because I believed if I can control this part, I'm going to do this thing, right? And my whole current reality always showed that. One of my first jobs was as a lifeguard. I didn't know how to swim. I had people help me, teach me, and self-taught, and I swam the 20 laps, and I learned how to tread water with bricks and take down the fat kids so that like we could all, be safe in the water. All those things, all self-taught in my mind. I made those things happen. Instead of the light coming through me, it was all force, in my opinion, right? And so that was the biggest thing for me was to take all the studying, the intellectual knowledge, be completely kicked to the ground, wiped of identity, wiped of resources, wiped of all control because I didn't embody it. And you had talked about that earlier.
Mhm.
All the intellectual knowledge, that's great. It's like step one. But until you engage the practice, which is not always comfortable to do. But
Yeah.
until you engage it and get it consistent and do the thing, nothing actually changes. And that forced me, it gave me the time because I was jobless and homeless to actually start to do the thing. So that was a beautiful thing. But, it was like the perfect sort of storm of having that intellectual knowledge and then having that time and having everything that I thought was a part of me broken and disappearing. Just perfect thing. So 2009, 2010, worst but best years of my life, period.
Yeah. Let's stay there for a minute. And you talked about control. I also was a control freak, and I thought, like, I could just control everything and make it happen. And of course, the only thing you can control is yourself, and your sphere of what you can control outside of you is very small. So if you
Yeah.
want to have a small life, hang out and control. It's great. Uh,
Yeah.
but if you want to have a big life, you're going to have to let the outside world do its thing, and you're going to have to like navigate yourself and become unfuckable with. And from that point, you can let the magic happen. But um, in that place, right, everything's crumbling. There's a point before you're like, oh, well, let me just lean into all this personal development. And I know from my own multitudes of dark nights of the soul in my life, there's this, it's like this messy, swirly point. And it's where you can lean into what you've done before, or you can lean into something different and do
Right.
it in a different way. And it's usually when everything is crumbled because of crisis, our tendency is to do what we've done before.
Absolutely.
And so there's a choice point where you have to do it differently if you want it to create a different result. And I know you created a different result, and you leaned into some stuff in a different way at this point. Tell me about that choice point of doing it
Oh, yeah.
differently and not doing it the way you had done it before.
Love this whole setup and question. So I did exactly that. I did the thing I did before. Even though my license was about to be suspended, I ended up working for the Supreme Court in New Jersey as a paralegal, right? So you didn't need the license. And here's the thing, the universe will throw you in the right direction, whether you like it the fuck or not. Okay. So even though there was, I was like, and again, it was cush and easy. So I was working literally 9 to 5. It's a government job, right? As a paralegal, making, I don't know what it was, like hourly, but probably maybe the equivalent of $65,000, $70,000 a year, like nothing. But my offspring was in the little justice building in her daycare while I'm working. So everything was convenient and perfect, right? Drive to work, drop your kid off the floor below you, hang out, do your work, government job work, reading stuff and stamping stuff, whatever, right? Totally boring, by the way. But it came up to a point where they were going to give someone a permanent position, and of course, I'm vying for it because this is great. This is simple. I've just gotten out of suicidal depression, and now I'm working, and I'm making 10 cents, which was never the goal, if you remember. It was the goal is fuck you money, not 10 fucking cents, right? So the universe, having my back, was like, we're not going to give you that job. In fact, we're not going to give you any job. We're not giving you any job. And I'm just like, well, fuck me again. Right. But that's the thing that had to happen to make me go out and explore. And to be fair, I didn't really explore too far. And again, past really catching up and all the little things that happen coming to fruition. So someone introduced me to the woman who actually started the entire field of legal recruiting. Okay. And so I learned the practice of legal recruiting. But again, if you think about this, I'm still leveraging, in theory, my background as a lawyer or what I think I know to build a business, which I had already done with the title company. But again, entrepreneurial spirit, did it my own way. I built the first fully remote legal recruiting company on planet Earth. And until COVID, that's what it was. So for about 9 years, it was doing that. And yeah, just totally, that's really when I did something truly different. And that's working with and learning from and being mentored from some of the top people in the world. Because here I was trying to build this company and I didn't understand. I was like, you can literally work from home and have a kid like me and like go to all the things and still make six figures. Like, I don't understand why everybody is doing this from your phone. Right. And so I just really didn't get it. And so I had to look at things and really learn the process that I didn't learn the first time, which is business building and understanding and money and all of the things. Yeah. But from that point on, it was just like off to the races. I learned that I love building businesses. I love the newness of it, but also the like traditional things that just have to happen. I love working with founders and owners and operators because I'm just a mastermind fucker and I love watching it all spark and come to fruition in them. And then I'm turning around like, holy shit, life is fun and easy. I'm like, yes, you got it. Like, yay. Like now you can do anything and everything. Right. And so I love that. And yeah, so that was really the part where I finally did something different, and that was investing in people outside of myself for the first time ever. For the first time ever.
And
That
in
was
that,
yeah.
one of the things, like, a lot of people will, okay, I need help. I'm going to break down. I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to work with somebody. I'm going to find the mentor. But there's this mindset that happens with a lot of people is that they will still do it right? They're going to take in all the knowledge and they're going to follow the rules of whatever the mentor says, but they haven't learned yet how to do it themselves in a way, in that, like, how to trust themselves. They
Mhm.
still, they're like wanting the coach or the mentor to save them and to fix
Yeah.
their problem. And so, how did you avoid doing that with your coaches and mentors? What was the
So
side of you that, because this is a point, and when we talk about being the wolf, when you really fully take responsibility for your life, and
mhm.
sometimes that is asking for help, but you have to ask for help in a way where you're willing to do the work and create the shifts inside of you and not expect that the coach or the mentor will do it for you. And that shift is usually when stuff starts to change in this person's life.
Oh, 100%. Right, right, right.
So,
So
yeah, tell me about that for you.
yeah, so it's interesting that you say that. Yes, that is absolutely something that happens. It happens with a lot of people. And as you know, I work with professional athletes and I find that they're the ones that do that the most. It's almost like you know how we say spiritual bypassing?
Yeah.
Do you know this? Okay. It's almost like personal development bypassing, right? They'll talk it to death. They'll take the actions because it's a checkbox. It's not embodiment. It's not soulfully making that change. And for many people, there is a mental work that we have to do, mindset, and help them to make that click and that change in their head first,
Yeah.
right? Conscious or subconscious doesn't matter. And that's really where the kind of spark happens. Once you experience it once, the difference between checkbox action and embodiment action, you feel it and you know the difference. And then from that moment on, you can make that embodied action, that aligned action. And what's funny is when it is embodied and aligned, it's easier than when you're forcing yourself to do the action because you have to check a box off. It
Yeah.
flows through you and it becomes like, oh, this is great. Like versus I have to enter the thing because it's on my list. Like, it's completely
Yeah.
different. Completely different
I,
vibration.
I remember one of these moments in my life had to do with, like, losing weight and getting back in shape. And I was at this point where it was not where I wanted to be. And I had always yo-yoed in between two different weights my entire life. Like, there was a top and a bottom. And there was this point when I hit and I was like, you know what? I'm done. And people call these, like, rock bottom moments where it's just like
Sure.
you're done with it, or everything, you've lost everything so hard that you've got to just do it from a different place. But for me, it was like, I'm not going to worry about losing the weight. I just want to be healthy. I want to feel good. I don't want to think about food all the time. I want to, like, have more energy. And it was this place where it was truly for me. It wasn't for trying to prove and be in a box of something that somebody might want me to be this certain amount of skinny or not. So I started slowly with little things, and it built, like, I lost 50 pounds and got in good shape, like all of those things. But there was this click point where it was, as you said, no longer about checking a box, because the checking the box for me in all areas of my life was about how it was perceived to the outside world and what
Mm-hmm.
I perceived that would keep me safe based on,
Right.
of course, my childhood. But so it, like, for me, if I was too fat, I would get yelled at by mom. If I was too skinny, I would get ostracized by by somebody else in my family.
Right.
So there was this always constantly trying to stay inside this realm of what other people were going to perceive and think. And through that, I was checking the box for that and not
Mm-hmm.
for what was right for truly right for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you said it clicks and you have it once, like, oh shit, I can choose what's right for me. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you do it once, you can do it again.
In any area of life. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And for
It's
you,
funny because I have clients that I've worked with for years, and I'm always joking with them. I'm like, dude, do you understand that you have all the tools you need
yeah,
to come back to? And I'm cool if you want to pay me, because I do cost $77,000 a year. You could pay me every year to literally call me so I could refer you back to the thing you've been doing. Right. And so everybody has their own journey, and it'll click in some vertical, some area of life somewhere at some time. And
yeah,
sometimes even when it clicks, because the thing that you did that I always tell people, there's two ways to make that change, right? Just fucking decide so powerfully because you are so done that you're just going to be different, period. Amazing. You are now in a different state of being, right?
yeah,
And you are the new thing. Or what happens is, for those who are intellectual, highly intelligent, this tends to be the way that they go, is they need to know what's the root cause, what's the this, what's the that. Go
oh, I
on the
haven't
deep dive,
talked about that.
right? Go on the deep dive with the internal. That's cool too, right? Those are the only two ways you're going to make that transition. But both of them end in the motherfucking decision. Because
Yeah,
once you find the core, it helps you say, oh, you know what? If that's the cause, I'm not down with that. I'm just going to go be now. Or you could just be like, I'm going to motherfucking be, period. Right. And so it's not a judgment. There's no right or wrong. I do the latter a lot of times. Like, oh, I wonder why I like yelled because someone slammed the refrigerator door. That's really weird. I'll go down the deep dive and be like, oh, because when I was like 3 years old, my brother slammed the door on my hand. I cried and I got in trouble for it. I'm like, okay. So I really don't like it, the refrigerator door slamming. Do I really need to keep that? I don't fucking care anymore. Right. Like, sometimes, energetically you have to go to that root cause in order to really genuinely release it for whatever reason, because it's your brain, it's your thought process, it's how it's happening consciously or subconsciously that has put this into your cells, your state of being. And so, yeah, those are the two ways, as far as I'm concerned, after working with over 3,000 individuals, that I have understood we can make change. You just decide and just do and just be. Or we can go down the rabbit hole if that's what needs to happen for you to release whatever it is. It's all good.
yeah. Yeah, and it does come down to, again, that decision, because once you, like, find the root cause and you clear it and you resolve whatever's there, you still have to decide. You can still do it the old way,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to
Or
decide
a new
to do
way.
it a new
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. And
And
that's it.
yeah, and
And
so
here's the thing, I work with like energy people on all this stuff, and we can talk about all the science catching up to how it is, genetically represented, and it's in your cells and it's passed down. I believe it's passed down not just from your current lineage, but from all of it in all times and dimensions and spaces. But here's the thing, if you are a human on planet Earth, the way you're going to clear that is through your mental capacity, because that's what we do. That's how we even initially embody, right? Yes, we can actually take, as far as I believe, other energy people to help us clear that energy. but there's a mental, spiritual practice within us that will do it for ourselves. And it could be so fucking easy, or we can make it as complex as we have decided. It's really,
Yeah, and I would take that a little further in the sense of mental and in your body, in the sensation and in the feeling as well.
yeah, it's huge.
But yeah, you're right. It's got to move through the human form because you can is if you hire some energy worker, some person to help you do that, and they can a lot of energy workers can clear it for you, can remove things and do all of that, but
And
if
welcome back.
you haven't shifted it yourself, you're still at that same frequency, so you're just gonna invite it or
Or
something
something different back. Right. Right. What's really funny is like, for me, I have a belief, and I was just telling you, oh man, the hip flexor this morning, I literally got up and like an old lady, couldn't stand up straight immediately with pain. There's two things. There's the physiological, because you're in this little earth human body and it does operate a certain way. But most of that is very easy to take care of, right? It's about stretching, it's about working out, it's about keeping the vessel, however it needs to be. And then, in my opinion, there's the energetic body. And that's the one I think that causes us the most problems. And that's what I'm talking about here. When it does it, and they're not always correlated. Like you could be suffering from this trauma from when you were 3, but your knee hurts. But you go to all the doctors and there's nothing wrong with your damn knee. They're like, we don't see anything. We don't know why. Maybe you have arthritis, something that they can't see necessarily. Right? All the crap. But really, if you're clearing the energy, all of that type of stuff that's not physiological, because you stretched wrong, you're misaligned, you had something in your neck happen, you've been slouching too much over your computer, so you have to, that's all physiological. The energy body, that is all that emotional bullshit and baggage that you can get rid of. That, to me, there are things physically that cause cancer, but that to me is one of the big causes of cancer. Like,
Yeah.
the thing, yes, you can eat the crap, yes, you can do the thing, yes, you can, yes, 100%, I believe that. But what's really allowing that, right? And so think about this. Is going to sound super, super weird. HPV, right? A virus that causes cervical cancer. Like almost 100% of humans on the planet, women, have gotten this, but it usually self-resolves. So what is the difference between when it self-resolves and does nothing to you versus when it does something to you? Well, scientists are like, well, maybe you're stressed out. Maybe there's a certain trigger. Maybe that's, yeah, okay. If you're stressed out, we're talking about your energy body. If your level of stress creates a breakdown in your ability to dissipate viruses, that's an energy body thing. So that's kind of, one of the things
Yeah.
I think is really important.
Yeah, and in my own experience, right, it was like my own healing journey. I had a period of time, like I studied yoga and did yoga for like 15 years, and then I didn't do any yoga for 5 years, didn't do any stretching, did like some weightlifting, but not a lot of exercising. And then I went back to yoga class and I was like, how am I massively more flexible in every area of my body than I ever was in all my years of doing yoga. And it was because I transformed the energy body, because I did all the healing work, because I did all that shit. Everything in my body was a different shape. Everything shifted completely. So let's wrap up like the story, right? We've got the arc of the totally misaligned and in the like someone's out to get you lawyer. Then we had lost everything, ended up homeless for a year. And then like, how did we get to the final where we are now, the abundance, the life that's fun? And tell us a little bit about that, the end part of
100% mindset shift. That's it, period.
yeah.
It is 100%. And, we talked about control. And like you said, the only thing you can control is yourself, but you can control that. You can control your reactivity. You can control your thought process, right? And listen, I have a belief, yet another belief, Kirsten. No, I have a belief that as long as you're a human on the planet, you are becoming. David Meltzer, a friend of ours, had asked me on his shows, like, about mastery. When have we decided that we are the master of something? And I said, never. As far as I'm concerned, I'm always on the path of, because there's always something new, always something bigger, always something different that I can learn. Same thing I talk about becoming unfuckwithable. I think when I'm dead and I'm back to the ultimate, like, unconditional loving light with all consciousness and all knowing, that's when I will truly be unfuckwithable. But until then, everything is a trigger in learning, just another little shard in me that is still not there. But as you get rid of all of those things, man, life just easily levels up step by step, gain by gain, sometimes in massive gains, sometimes in micro gains, but everything is a gain. And I think when we were out in Las Vegas, where we met, one of the things happened where I was supposed to be speaking in front of 40,000 people. I ended up in a room with like maybe 100, and my ego just completely got in the way. But I'm at the level now that I can notice it to be like, all right, Kier, what are you doing? Come on, girl. You don't need to lose everything to crush that ego again. Learn. Thank you for showing me. Thank you for allowing me to have the process to even learn. And thank you for getting whatever part of the lesson I have gotten this time, because it's going to happen again. And I'm just going to get another part of it and another part of it. And eventually I'm not going to be an asshole. Like, that's the goal.
Yeah. How do people, I'll have one more question to wrap up, but how do people get in touch with you? How do people work with you? What's available for people who are falling in love with you through this podcast?
I hope you love me, Pookie. Actually, I don't care. But you can find me at the website. It's just kirstenfranklin.com. And please reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you want to direct message me on LinkedIn, I actually respond to all of my LinkedIn. Other social, not that great at. I'm not a big social media person, but for some reason I love LinkedIn. So find me and connect with me there. Happy to answer any questions. And yeah, just go to my website. There's a really cute little quiz on my website about becoming and to understand what stage you're at in this process of becoming. So feel free to land there and take the quiz.
Awesome. Awesome. And so my final question for you is, what does being the wolf mean to you?
Oh man, this whole thing, I think it's exactly like becoming unfuckwithable. It's really about, man, self-reflection for self-improvement so that you can literally be a god on planet Earth. I know that might offend some people, but like, honestly, like stepping into your absolute truth makes you an absolute god on planet Earth. And that's a process. And yeah, that's what I think it is.
Awesome. I love that one. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing your spirit with us. And remember,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And remember, everyone, when you operate from the truth of who you are, humanity evolves. We'll see you all next time on Be the Wolf. Bye.